Hi, everybody. This is Knit with Laura and Lola. I am Laura Nelkin. I am a knitwear designer based in upstate New York, outside of Ithaca. And I have an alter ego, Lola, who is tons of fun, and she shows up in these logs when I let her. Sometimes I keep her in the bag, sometimes she sneaks out of the bag. This is log number 15. So I've been doing one a week every Wednesday, kind of since this whole craziness of staying at home began. And they are a great reason for me to put on lipstick and do my hair once a week. So thank you. They're really the only reason I have to get dressed. That little preview you saw was kind of what I look like in the morning when I just throw some stuff on without thinking about it and come downstairs to make my coffee. And typically somewhere during the day, I put on some more structured clothing, but I've been really leaning into being in my loungewear. I'm not the best at getting dressed in the morning unless I have to. Um, just a little dose of reality. I have a ton to tell you guys today. I have a list that I keep to attempt to keep myself on track when I get distracted. I am going to jump right into it. The first thing is that I finally released Hring kits this week. Hring was a scarf that I designed for Lola's Choice. I think it was in May of 2017. And pretty much since then, people have been asking me if I would do kits. And one of my friends, Ana Cecilia in Mexico, had bought a second kit for me because I had a few left over. And she made a wider version of Hring with two kits. So I ended up rewriting the pattern and releasing a new version of the pattern that has both a narrow and a wide version, and then kits that are narrow and wide. This is a great yarn for spring. It is alternative flax from Indigo Dragonfly, a dyer out of Canada. It's a silk linen that's kind of like rustic and really interesting. I think it uses a raw silk, and it creates a fabric that's yummy. And I know that the pink version, this one's brand new. Kelly knit this for me, and I can tell I'm going to be wearing this happy color a lot. This is the apocalypse color, which given the time, Kelly and I were laughing about the name. Um, I wore this one a lot when I visit my parents in Florida because it's kind of the perfect weight to have something around your neck that's a piece of knitting as we get into warmer temperatures. So that's Hring Kit in a nutshell. I don't need to go over it in detail. If you want to learn more, I did a blog post about it. There's kits up in Etsy, all that good stuff. And you can always email me if you have a question, if you can't find the answer to it. Everything I talk about in the log is linked below the log. So if you're like, what's that recipe or what's that sewing pattern? I've tried to give you all the links so you have all the content and information. If I miss anything, just email me and I'll put it in there for you, because this becomes a great way of finding resources again when you hear about them. Let's see. So Hring released, and I've been getting a lot of questions about this tunic that I'm wearing. So you probably noticed that this has been in a few photos lately. I sew most of my own clothing, and I like to really wear my clothing and use it a lot. I don't tend to sew something once or buy something and only use it in one thing. You'll see if you look back in my photos, the same pieces of clothing happening again and again. I really love my clothing and I use it. And this, I'm going to stand up so you can see all of it. This is a tunic. It's like a dress tunic. I sewed it kind of short. And there's some photos that you can see in Hring where you can see the whole piece on me. It's got a pocket. It is a pattern by Sonia Phillips. For her company's called 100 Acts of Sewing. If you are wanting to try out any garment sewing, Sonia's patterns are awesome first time sewing patterns. I really highly suggest them if you're like, I just want to follow something and sew something super simple. And you can even buy some inexpensive fabric to start so you're not like investing in big. I really suggest her patterns. This tunic pattern I've actually made 3 times. So, and what I love about this fabric, I think it's a woven cotton that I got in at my local yarn and fabric store in Trumansburg. She does not sell online. you have to just go in there and look at stuff yourself. But I think it's like woven in Bali or Indonesia, and it's got these kind of like fire bolts that you can see, and it goes with, well, so far it's gone with pink and yellow, but that gray base is kind of great, a great neutral to like pick up color well. Um, I also made one, you guys might recognize this tunic. I made this last fall and I wore it a fair amount. You can see the pocket down here. Pretty proud of my pattern matching right there up at the top. I was just trying to line that up to look pretty. Or actually, I take that back. I didn't match the pattern at all there. I put the pocket on the bias so that I wasn't trying to match the fabric. So you can see that that square is kind of lining up that way. And that's a trick with sewing. The more you get into sewing, the more you start thinking about pattern placement and how you want pockets to look or not look. This uses that same pattern. I wear it a ton over yoga pants and leggings. And then this one, some of you might have seen this. I wore this at Knit Ithaca. I got this fabric at Fancy Tiger Crafts. I'm not sure if they still have it. It's a rayon. So the other two fabrics I showed you are cotton. And it's got cactuses on it. Lola thinks she sees something else in that print, but we're not going to let her say what it is because it's not appropriate. But this print, you can see, some people see Mickey Mouse in this print. I don't know. Freud would have a field day with what everybody would see in this print. It's a good Rorschach test for you right there. So that's what I've sewn a lot. What I just found when I was looking for that pattern to show you is I had bought this Wixton pattern at Fancy Tiger Crafts when I was just there in February. And the short dress right here. So there's like a longer dress and then there's a shirt and there's a short dress in there. This is also a great pattern for beginners. And I think I'm going to try to make this short dress right here. I love that little pleat in the back and it's got two pockets and I love that little cap sleeve. So I think that that's going to be my next one. And I'm pretty sure I have some fabric that I got when I was there that will be great in that. I gave up on the Japanese sewing pattern. I do not have the brain bandwidth right now. I need, and I think we all do, I need to escape into the easy a little bit. And I couldn't even figure out that whole seam allowance thing. I know I can do it. I know I am a bright woman, but not right now. And that's okay. We get to make those decisions for ourselves and go easy on ourselves right now, I think. So that is some sewing news for you. I did sew some more masks this weekend as people ask me. I've been sewing some in waves. I really do want to try that Wixton, maybe by next week. That will be my goal. Tunic knitting. I finished, remember last week I showed you the pocket tunic I was working on in the Catskill merino. This is like a Aran weight, like warm merino wool, and you can see it's quite long and it's got pockets down on the bottom and the fit is great. Definitely works on me. I have not even woven in my ends yet. I think the only thing I'm going to change is that the neckline is a little too wide and I'm going to take out my bind off and just add one or two more rows to that. But I really, really love that little mitered corner right there. And then I just have to weave in ends. And the pattern is written. And this is where it's fun for me to talk to you about this. For me, a lot of the time I write the pattern as I am knitting it, and I have an Excel spreadsheet going for sizing for the size that I'm making. And what I need to do is populate out the rest of that spreadsheet based on sizes and thinking about, I need to look a little bit at hip sizes as they go up in the range to make sure that I'm allowing for that side panel to be wide enough. And then I'll plug that all into the pattern and I will send it to my tech editor, Kate Atherley. And she's very familiar with the side-to-side construction. I've been doing a lot. So she'll wrap her brain around it, get it back to me, and then it will be ready for testers. So expect a testing call for the pocket tunic. At the same time, I think I want to make these pocket tunics a collection. So I'll have the kind of Aran worsted weight version, and it can be long or short. And then I'll have a sport weight version. And I got this absolutely gorgeous yarn from Susan Anderson. She has a company called Barrett Wool Company with her son and daughter-in-law, I believe. And this is my neutral color, and I think I got 4 or 5 skeins of this. And then I got all these fun colors to mix in. And I want to do a stripy, shorter version with pockets, like a 12-inch, so kind of like a cropped sweater with a pocket on the side going across, no sleeves again, kind of a tunic. So I get to cast on for this really soon. I have been working on gauge swatches. I did a gauge swatch with size 4 needles, and it's a little, sorry, I was showing you the backside there. It's a little too airy for me, I think. It ended up being about 5 stitches to the inch, which is pretty airy for a sport weight yarn. So I have a swatch hanging right now on size 3s, and we'll see how that goes. I did try to pull out my knitting machine this weekend to see what it was like on my knitting machine, to see if I could knit the tunic on my knitting machine, just like the basic part, and then do all the panels by hand and the neckline by hand. Um, and the fabric it makes is really pretty, but I'm having a hard time getting a hand knitting row gauge. And since row gauge is so important in side to side sweaters, I don't think I can get away with trying to use my knitting machine. I love using my knitting machine. It's really fun. I enjoy it immensely, but I can only kind of use it for a hand knitting situation when I can get a row gauge that's somewhat similar, and I don't think I'm able to. It does make a gorgeous fabric, and at some point it would be fun to knit up something on there. On the top and bottom right there are Julie Aslan's Nurtured, and I think it's Nurtured Fine. I have a bunch of this left over from a fresh from the N Club last year. I have a bunch of cones of it, and I think I'm going to use 2 cones to knit myself something on the machine at some point. And then at the same time, I decided to try up some Jill Draper Ansel. And again, I was trying to see if I could get row gauge with this and maybe use this for the tunic sweater. But again, the row gauge is pretty dense, but it made an absolutely stunning fabric. Look at that. So maybe at some point I'll whip something up. Kind of wonder if Jill gets Ansel on cones, and I could buy some cones off her, because machine knitting off a cone is really lovely. You can see one cone I got when I was in Scotland. I got this at EYF last year from Iona Yarn Company, and one day this will be a sweater on the machine. I don't know when. I got lots of plans, and I haven't even finished my rug hooking yet. I have no business talking about big picture stuff right now. So that's a little bit about, like, that's design process for you. Lots of swatches that look like that, where I'm like, what does that do? What does that do? Let's think about this. There's the tunic. The other thing I want to do with the tunic is also do a baby version. And I wanted to ask you guys what weight yarn you like knitting baby sweaters in. Like, do you like doing them in fingering weight? I definitely want to use a merino superwash wool for this. And do you prefer fingering or sport weight or DK? Just kind of interested. I still kind of want to see what it would look like in self-striping, but I'm realizing that what will happen with this self-striping is you'll have narrow stripes on the shoulder area and then wider stripes, and then that will all change from size to size. So I'm still not sure that this yarn that I would love to do something with is the right yarn for this project. So thinking on that baby thing, you guys think on that too. I like how I'm like tasking you with projects. We're working together here. Next up, we got Tunic. Oh, the next Lola's Choice kit is ready to go. Lola completely screwed up, and Bella had packed them up for us last weekend, and I guess 2 weekends ago. And then I realized that Lola forgot to tell Bella to put the card with the download code into the kits. So then Bella had to open them all up. Lola got fired and put the download card in there, and they're all ready to go. And I think they're going to ship. I think I got it together to get them to ship Wednesday or Thursday, so a little early. And that means that some of you will have them for the weekend. If that doesn't happen, then they'll just ship on Friday on May 1st, and most of you will have it Monday or Tuesday. Mail is taking a little longer right now, so don't be surprised if it takes longer than usual for the kit to get there. I am very excited for you guys to see this one, as always. And while you're going to be knitting on that, I'm knitting on the July design right now. And I had an interesting time. I've ripped it out 3 or 4 times, and I've had a little bit of a crisis of like, if the design is fits the Lola profile. And I checked in with some friends last night, and we all decided that it totally does, and it makes sense for right now. And so I'm going for it. It's sometimes I really need to check in with people. I work in like a little black box, and sometimes I feel like I'm right on trend, and sometimes I'm like, am I off in left field all alone by myself? But I'm feeling good about it again. And I knit on it last night way too late. And I'll tell you why in a second. Next up, whenever I turn like this, it's because I'm looking at my notes. Um, the knit along that I announced last week, this virtual stay home and knit with Lola knit along in my Ravelry group, is super fun and very enabling. People are posting all of their projects, not just my designs, everything that they're knitting and working on. I wish there was a way on Ravelry for us to, you're not really supposed to post like sewing projects and cooking projects and all that jazz, but it would be fun if like everything could be tagged. And you could be posting what you're sewing or what have you, but it's just not really, it's a forum for knitting and crochet, so I'm trying to stick with that. But that knit along is going so fun, and I am loving seeing what you all are making. There are so many beautiful designs out there and awesome yarns. I'm getting introduced to a fair amount, and I think you all are too. So just be careful about the enablement factor, because there's a lot to be enabled by in there. Next up, let's see, I'm trying to decide which one to do first. Knit Stars 5.0. If you guys don't know what Knit Stars is, it's an online knitting webinar. And I was in Knit Stars too. And basically, they sent a videographer to me and videoed me teaching lace from around the world here in Trumansburg, New York. And then it launches in the fall of 2020, so they like tend to open up sales for like a window now, and then there'll be a window in the fall when they open up. And the price point's pretty good right now because they're opening it up so early. They also have opened up sale of previous sessions if you want to check any of those out. The videography is superb in them. I think there's a lot of learning to be done. So you can check them out or not. I'll give you guys a link below. Please use my link if you are thinking about purchasing, because it helps me out a lot. It is an affiliate link. I have to tell you that. Thank you. Okay, that was Knit Stars. Ask questions if I didn't explain well. I don't want to spend too much time on it. The next thing I've been getting asked a lot about, and I've been kind of putting it off, and I'm going to keep putting it off, is Knit Ithaca. And that is because I just have no idea what next November looks like. And I don't think any of us do. I don't think any of us 2 or 3 months ago could have predicted where we're at right now. And I don't want to put anybody, including myself, in harm's way. And I want to make a safe decision. And it seems like the easiest thing to do is just to wait and not open it up for signups and then have to cancel. I think I can just buy some time. The dates, it's the weekend right before Veterans Day in November. I'll put a link to the site below. All you have to do is be on my email list if you want to hear about signups when they open up, and I'll be loud about it, I promise. So you won't miss it. Like, I will say signups are opening this date. It tends to be 2 weeks out. People who are members in my clubs get first rights to sign up. One idea that I had for this year was to maybe make it smaller. It's typically 53 people get to come, plus myself and the guest instructor, so 55 total. And one idea I had was maybe just to make it smaller so that we and maybe not to do the bus trip this year, even though what I have planned, everything's planned and it's super fun. And I'll tell you now that the guest instructor is Carol Feller, and we already bought her plane ticket. So as long as we're traveling then and people are feeling safe and good, that's the plan. But I'm just gonna wait. I think if right now is all about patience, I'm gonna be a patient person. So that's what's happening with Knit Ithaca. It's just on hold for signups until it feels like it makes sense. Makes me a little sad. I really miss you guys. There I'm like all furrowed brow. I'm not crying, but I do. It's one of the things of the year I look forward to so incredibly, and I put so much time into thinking about how the weekends flow and the activities and the fun and just also the hangout time. And I made a few changes for this year that are already kind of in the works that just shift a few things that I think are good. You're gonna like it when it happens. Next up, gardening. I want to give you a tiny little gardening update. We are not outside today because it was not a good day to be outside. It's on Saturday. It was stunning, and I got a ton of gardening in. I got peas in, and I got lettuces in, and radishes in, and kale. I like broadcast my kale seed in a different way this year so we could do baby kale cuttings because we love baby kale in my house, and we love kale. Not everybody does. Sorry. And we did a bunch of garden cleanup. I planted some pansies. I went to the Amish market on Saturday with my mask and gloves on, and got some groceries from there, and also got a few plants, and that was really fun. That might be my favorite place to shop, is the Amish market, being in the greenhouse with all of the flowers. And I bought some weird house plants that, here, I bought one over here. I think I didn't have it. I bought this crazy, was like $2.50. Everything there is really inexpensive. It's a succulent for sure, and I call it the cat tongue plant because when you feel these, they totally look like tongues, and when you feel them, they feel rough like a cat's tongue. I'm really obsessed with this plant. I keep making Max and Bella feel it because it's so weird, and I'm so weird. Clearly, all very weird. So gardening's happening. I will take you guys on a tour once things are growing a little more. It's still looking a little sad out there because things are still growing up a little bit. Not their biggest best selves yet. We've got daffodils and some little grape hyacinths. But that's about it for flowers. Oh, and we're not what's that one? A Helleborus is open. But other than that, things are not quite. I think the fritillaria are almost open. I love fritillaria. I'll show those to you when those happen. They're so cool. Okay, last few things, kind of what I'm watching, what we're eating, and then we'll do the giveaway for prompt for next time. So, watching. I was going to tell you about, I watched the Horrible Tiger show, and it was really satisfying. And I basically didn't want to watch it. I didn't think I was going to like it. And I think the day that Trump told people to inject themselves or ingest bleach to basically kill a virus was the day that I was like, and tiger movie. So it's called Tiger King. It's on Netflix. It's horrible. I'm not suggesting it, but if you need to escape into an alternate reality that is insanely whack, you can do that or not. You don't need to, trust me. I did. And it kept me busy for the weekend. But last night, I was gearing up for some knitting, and one of my friends asked if I had seen BookSmart yet. And I was like, BookSmart? I don't even know what that is. And it was on, I believe it was on Hulu. And it is like a coming of age, teenage comedy. It came out in 2019. It's definitely a teen movie. It was so funny and like well shot and real. And I found a quote about it that I just decided to read you because it was so spot on. BookSmart manages to be inclusive and progressive without being precious about anything or sacrificing an ounce of humor. And I don't even remember who wrote that quote. It was on the Google page. And that is so what BookSmart is. It's about two girls who work super hard in high school and they're super uptight. They're like the academic ones, and they get to the night before their graduation and they decide to party. And if you need an escape this weekend or this week, it is a fun movie. And I think people of all ages will like it. Like Bella hasn't seen it yet, and I've already made her promise to watch it with me this weekend. Like I want to see it again. So tell me what you think of that if you've already seen it or when you watch it, because I hope you do. Tell me what you think. It's pretty funny. I needed it bad last night, and it I keep giggling thinking about scenes. And there's like this one way that the two friends are when they meet each other, like when they pick each other up for school or like get dressed and they're going out at night, they're really, really positive with each other. They just say all the awesome, sweet, endearing, adorable things to each other and like pump each other up, which, what a way to be with people, right? Just bring them up. Why take somebody down? I hope you like it. Reading, I'm still reading that gosh darn Red 10, and maybe I should just give up because I'm hardly reading. And that would be the weirdest thing about this time for me. Are you guys reading at all? I've talked to a few people who are readers who are saying that reading is not coming to them like it does normally. I'm hoping it comes back. I miss it. I really do. Last up, cooking. We still cook a lot. We make dinner a lot, and it seems like then leftovers are getting eaten for lunch, so I can't even count on a meal lasting multiple days. And earlier this week, my friend Paula sent me a link to a recipe on Food 52, which is an awesome food blog. They also sell stuff, but you can ignore the shopping if you don't need anything and just look at their recipes. And it was for a crispy chickpea with like spicy rice pilaf. And it was so good. Basically there's like one sheet pan where things are roasting and then one pot. And I had almost everything for it in my pantry. I didn't have the sour cherries or the cashews, but I did have almonds and craisins. So this is a pandemic, and I substituted those two things, and it came out really great, really, really yummy. Maybe I used a little bit too much oil, but the rice was really good, and I would highly suggest that recipe. I give you guys the link below. I ate it over a bowl of greens. You could totally eat it with some roasted cauliflower if you needed to bulk it up a little more. You could make it as a side dish, but for us, it was definitely the main dish and totally satisfying. Really yummy. Let me tell you again how good it was. I want to go have it as soon as I'm done filming this and it's uploading. So there's just enough leftovers for me to have it for lunch, I hope. That's everything I have to tell you today. That was a lot. Oh, and I ordered some overalls because I miss having overalls. So next week, hopefully, you'll get to see my overalls if they fit. That's the last thing. I'm not giving you a link to those till I know if they work, okay? For the giveaway, every week at the end of the log, I give you guys a prompt and you leave a comment either in the show notes below, like below the video and YouTube or over in Ravelry. You can leave comments in both places and that enters you twice to win. A few people have figured that out, even though I've never said that. And what you win is a Zoom session with me and the Ravelry moderators. And that Zoom session is always at 4 p.m. Eastern time, the Sunday after the log comes out. So I believe if Friday's the 1st, it would be Sunday, May 3rd, but don't quote me on that because I am not looking at a calendar while I tell you that. I'm like using my brain, which doesn't always work very well. So it'll be Sunday at 4, and I would like to do a double prompt for you guys. So the first prompt is just give that one word check-in thing we love to do. Tell me in one word how you're feeling. It can be hopeful, it can be sad, it can be energetic, it can just be exhausted, it can be anxious. I don't know. There's so many words. And the other thing, and I'm not even sure what my word is right now. Um, my word might be work because I have been going hard. Um, and then the other thing is if you have an opinion about weights of yarns for knitting baby and toddler clothing, like washable yarn weights, I would love to know what yarn weight you think I should knit that baby tunic in, and then I will go do some research and find that. And I want to get it from an indie dyer. It's just a kind of a question of if it's superwash. I mean, sorry, if it's fingering sport, DK, worsted, etc. So those are your two prompts. You can do both. You can do one. You can do the other. If you don't do either, you won't be entered to win. And the only change I'm making this week is I'm going to choose 3 people from each place because the last few Zooms have been really fun, but we ended up with 15 people in the last Zoom between the 10 winners and the 4 Ravelry moderators and myself, and it was too big to really talk. So if I can get them a little smaller and try to figure out what that sweet size is for talking, um, this last one, we spent almost like 45 or 50 minutes introducing ourselves to each other, which was really fun. But you also just kind of want time to bounce off each other and have conversation. So 3 people from each place this week. Your prompts are one word check-in and or yarn weight for a baby tunic. And I miss you guys and I miss hugging my friends. And we'll just keep going and we'll see each other maybe at Ithaca or some other point in the future.